Welcome to Investigation 1.3. In Investigation 1.3, we're going to be taking a look at the relationship between batteries and current. So we have our setup the same as we did for Investigation 1.2, where we were just measuring current. So we have our ammeter measuring in milliamperes, we have a light bulb, we have a battery, and we have a switch. We always leave our switch open until we're ready to go, and we always want to remember those safety warnings. Anytime we change things, we want to make sure we open our switch. If you do need to put the light bulb in, make sure it's just until contact is made. You do not need to over tighten, and then also always assume the light bulb is hot. When you come to it, if you haven't been using it, assume it's hot. When you're done using it, please don't touch it until it's been a couple of minutes for it to cool off, because warm glass and cold glass look exactly the same. Starting this lab, what we're going to be doing is we're going to look at what's going to happen if we add extra batteries to this. How is it going to impact the current that's running through this circuit? So before we start that, discuss that with your group, write a hypothesis, and decide what's our independent variable, what's our dependent variable, because those will be important when writing our hypothesis. Remember, independent variable is kind of what you're trying to decipher. It's what, as a scientist, you're changing on purpose. And then the dependent variable depends on the change you make, so it's what we're measuring after we make that change. Okay, so you're going to do all that once you get yourself set up. What we're going to do, and a good idea anytime you come and you're working with batteries, is to just double check that they all function before we start our circuits. I learned this the hard way as I was trying to set up a circuit and it wasn't working, and I realized my batteries were not functioning. So it's nice to have our ammeter here so I can see this first battery does work. The second battery, I'm just going to do the same thing. I opened the circuit because I was changing something. I'm not going to say that this one's working. It did have a little bit of current, but not a whole lot. So I'm going to give this one back to my teacher and try to get different. You're going to need 3 batteries. Again, I'm going to open and close. That one's working. I want to make sure that I have 3 functioning batteries so that when I'm doing my lab, I am not confused about my results just because maybe my batteries were not functioning. All right, I have 3 functioning batteries. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put one battery in, I'm going to close the switch, and I'm going to record how many microamperes I am measuring. Again, each of the little dashes after the 100, 200, 300 is 10 milliamperes. Okay. Next thing I'm going to do, and there's a picture of this in your method, is I'm going to add another battery, and I'm going to have this in series. So again, I opened up my switch. I'm going to add it in series, so I want to make sure that the positive connects to the negative, and there's a little plus sign in the bottom of the box, and I'm just going to connect them here. I'm going to reconnect this. I'm going to add my battery in, making sure I pay attention to negative and positive, and then I'm going to close my switch and record my observations. What do I notice? I'll do that same thing, putting a third one in. Again, I opened up my switch. I'm going to connect positive to negative, adding a third battery in series. I'm going to put the battery in there. These are all ones that I checked that they do work because, again, we want to make sure that it's not a battery that's causing. We get all our good data. We check that first. I'm going to connect it again. And then I'm going to, if for some reason you all of a sudden get 0, kind of unconnect things, double check that everything is working, pop the batteries in again, put it back into series, make sure everything is connected. If you get 0, you should not get 0. Trade some things out, maybe get a different battery holder. Do what you have to do. You should continue to get numbers as you're doing that. And I'm pretty sure this is one of the batteries that I checked that worked. I'm going to make sure I'm adding positive to negative, which I am. Clip it in series and close it, and you will get the ammeter to move. And then you'll record your data. After you've recorded your data, you're going to make a graph and then work as a group to come up with a conclusion.